all those
just the way you
mistakes.
exactly. You are beautifully made, wonderfully made,
Yeah,
blessed. And
that's
it's the hardest thing for us to recognize that we are beautiful just the way we are.
yeah.
And because there's no one else like us. And
Hmm.
but it takes a long time for us to and others may tell us that, but it takes us to believe that in us. So I'm sure as when you connected to that part of you, how did you express that? How did you find yourself expressing
I
this
just
newfound
felt
love of yourself?
I just felt so happy. And you know what? I did not drink one glass of alcohol that night. I went back that night to the chalet and I hung out with these incredible people that I had met, these wonderful companions in life. And we laughed and we were joyful and we were merry. And I didn't need to feel that I needed a mask anymore. I
Mm.
just could be me. The next day we were going canyoning. So I was so excited because like I've got this newfound excitement of love of myself and I'm ready to take life by the horns and run with it. But I had this incredible sensation of foreboding. I had this feeling, a
Mm.
gut instinct that something was wrong, really bad, a bad feeling. And I just kept pushing it aside. And I'd actually had that throughout the entire trip. In fact, when I got on the plane to go overseas, I ate a whole packet of Tim Tams.
Wow.
Thinking that that would get rid of this bad feeling, but it didn't. So I had this. It's almost like butterflies, of nervous butterflies, but a bad nervous butterflies, to the point of debilitating. I almost can't move when I get this sensation. But I just kept pushing it down because I was living life. I was doing this. It was amazing. Everything was going to be amazing. It was raining that day. There was a huge, big storm at the very, very top of the mountain. So, so we're getting ready to go
Mm.
canyoning. Now, what is canyoning? Canyoning is where you're in a canyon and there's water, you wear a helmet, a full wetsuit, a
Yeah.
life vest, harnesses, and you jump and you might abseil or you might climb up rocks and things and you make your way down through the canyon. I'd never done anything like this before. I'd been whitewater rafting before and I'd abseiled as a kid, but I had never done canyoning before. So we were going through the safety session with the guides. There was a girl standing next to me. She was from another group, so it was different people on this tour, and she was putting a band-aid over her wedding ring. And I thought, why is she putting a band-aid on a wedding ring? And her friend said, why are you putting a band-aid on your wedding ring? And this girl said, well, just in case anything happens, I just want to make sure people know that I was married. And I thought to myself, does she have that bad feeling too? But I never said
Wow.
anything.
Mm.
Never said a word. And her body has actually never been found.
Mm.
We put our helmets on, we're all ready, we're about to go into the canyon, and our guide said to us, we're not 100% sure whether or not we should go in today, but don't worry, there are plenty of exit points along the way out. When we got into the canyon, it was like the Garden of Eden. It was magical. It was leaves
That's
were
breathtaking.
rustling gently. Yeah, I'd never seen anything like it. It was like fairies. We're about to start jumping out in a minute. The water was crystal clear because it's melted snow. It's from the Alps and in the mountains, and we're up sort of halfway up the mountain. It slightly started to sprinkle with rain. We got halfway down the mountain, down the canyon, and the water had changed from this beautiful crystal clear water to a murky, muddy brown. And I said to my friend who was standing next to me, why is the water rising? And she said, I don't know. Our guide said, we need to move fast. I took that next jump. I was the only one to take that jump. And as I entered into the water, I came up for air. The noise was like thunder. And there was a guide waiting for me in this water hole that I just jumped in, and he reached out to grab me, and our hands slipped past each other like ships in the night, and I was sucked under the raging rapids and washed away.
Mm.
In that exact moment, a 4-meter wall of water came down, and the flash flood came down. In my group of 12 people, 3 of us survived. But I
Mm.
didn't know any of this. And as I was washed away, I heard my father's voice come up into my mind saying, if ever you get caught in floodwaters, just relax and stay calm. Water is stronger than us all. And so I just surrendered. I
Mm-hmm.
completely, wholly surrendered. I didn't think about anything else except trying to get water, trying to get air and not water in my lungs. Whenever I could, I'd get snippets of
Yeah.
air and just let the water take me. Eventually, I was pushed up into a giant boulder by a massive log. It was the first time I could really see what I was amongst. The water was lapping at my chin. The rapids were coming down. There was logs and debris. Whole boulders were moving. I saw my friends' bodies floating over the rapids, and my life played out to me in a series of snapshots in
Hmm.
that moment. I saw myself as a child getting so badly bullied at school. I saw
Hmm.
me as a high school girl thinking that I didn't belong, where that missing puzzle piece was missing of me. I saw
Wow.
me in that horrendous relationship where I didn't deserve to be treated that way. And then I saw me on that mountain. I saw the me that I knew I was destined to be. And I didn't ever want to die having been that girl. I wanted to live being the girl on the mountain.
Yeah.
And I thought if I stayed there, the water would keep rising, I would drown, a boulder could come down and crush me, and I would never be found. And so I decided to let go. And so I
Yeah.
wiggled free, and the water took me away again. I
And
kept coming.
is it something that you have to be courageous to let go, to be in that space of vulnerability,
Yeah,
and is you to be brave is to let go
yeah,
of a lot of things.
absolutely. That's surrendering. Absolutely. I kept going up for snips of air as I could, and then there came a point where I thought, this is it. The next breath I take is going to be
Hmm.
water, and
Hmm.
that's it. And I prayed. I prayed to God. I prayed to my aunt that had died. And I said, please, dear God, please, Auntie die. Don't let me die, because if I die, Mum won't cope. And in that moment, whether it was God, an angel, a giant wave, I will never know. But my whole body spurt up out of the water, and my whole torso was up out of the water. And I could see what I was about to go over. And it was a giant waterfall, which is, there's a photo of it on my website. And I plummeted back into the water. I went over the waterfall, and when I came up for air, I was in a tiny little alcove next to the waterfall, and my legs wouldn't work. I made my way over to the edge, and I was able to get out. I had multiple injuries. 21 people died from the Swiss canyoning disaster. In Switzerland, they call it the day that Switzerland held its breath. There's an international memorial site next to the
Hmm.
Saxtonbark Gorge. It was the largest number of Australian deaths on foreign soil outside of war times at the time of the accident. It was all over the media, New York Times, BBC, The Guardian. It was everywhere. People from Switzerland, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa
Wow.
perished that day. I lost
So
5
so
friends.
what was the distance from the top to the bottom that you?
I went over a kilometre, and I went
Wow.
over 3 waterfalls.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were meant to be here
Yes, I absolutely was.
for some reason.
Yeah. And that was
That's
one of
wow.
the things that I really had to, that helped me deal with the survivor's
Wow.
guilt and the PTSD, which obviously would have taken years and years to work through all of those different mental health issues. And in that moment when I was pushed up at that boulder, I couldn't help my friends that I saw. And I knew instantly that they were dead because their faces were down and they were floating peacefully. And they didn't have any energy about them. They were bodies,
Mm.
and was a
There
very
were the
surreal
body
moment.
was lifeless. It was lifeless.
It was totally lifeless. And I knew instantly
Hmm.
that I couldn't help them. And for years, it took me such a long time to come to terms with that, that I couldn't
Mm.
help them. And I still get emotional about that because it's
Mm.
something that I'll have for the rest of my life. But what it also has given me this wonderful gift to know that I can help people on this earth. I can share my story. I was just a girl from the country in a bad relationship, was finally able to get out of it. And then
Yeah.
something happened to me that I pray will never happen to anyone ever again. But what it's given me is this wonderful opportunity to let people know that you
Yeah.
have a choice in your life where you can choose to have an amazing, wonderful, everyday, ordinary, brilliant life. And
Yeah.
it's our choice to do that. And we can choose to be happy or sad, or
Yeah.
regardless of our circumstance, whatever happens to us, we have that choice. And it takes
Yeah.
incredible bravery to make those choices and to really dig deep, listen to that
Yeah.
intuition and acknowledge it, because that inner voice, tells us, that inner voice told me at that boulder, this is who you are. This is what you
Yeah.
can be. This is why you are on this earth. And so I feel incredibly blessed to be able to share my story and that gift of helping those who need to hear that
Yeah.
message.
Even 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 I mean, what a experience, Tiffany, to not, I mean, PSD in itself could have taken over your life. This,
Mm,
just the fear, the paranoia, the
mm,
trauma,
mm,
and to be able to reflect upon it and make an observation of where you were at each area, where you were at the highest point of self-discovery, and then in another minute, you were at the lowest point of survival to get to another chance,
mm.
while so many around you who you've met didn't get that chance.
Yeah.
So I mean, just the range in itself, from the highest to the lowest, and then here you are now, be able to take this experience and share it with others, so that they can be brave enough.
Mm,
Not, they don't have to go through that experience, but you've taken this observation and what you reflected upon, and now you're sharing it with others.